Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball and football all the time. I am your host, John Drummond. And today I kind of want to just talk about some NBA stars that I may have some concerns with going into the 2025 NBA season. There are four players I'm going to be talking about. Those players are Jayson Tatum, Nikola Jokic, Ja Morant, and Julius Randle. This could be some things I've seen in the offseason, maybe some things I've seen in the later season, maybe some things I saw all throughout last season, and we're going to talk about it. I think my biggest concern with Julius Randle is how well will he fit into this New York Knicks team after missing majority of the season. I feel as though the New York Knicks really built their culture once Julius Randle got injured. And now it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he finds his way back into the rotation. And if we talk about Julius Randle, sometimes his shot IQ could be god-awful. And then there's times where he just does not show effort on the defensive end. And he's more of a ball stopper. And what I mean by ball stopper is he kind of slows down the flow of the offense. He kind of doesn't help a lot of people around him get in their rhythm, which I'm not going to sit here and say is terrible, but it's definitely not something that we've seen with this New York Knicks team in the playoffs. Over the span of Julius Randle being out and also throughout the playoffs, the New York Knicks have built their identity on defense, shooting, grit, offensive rebounding. I think Julius Randle can fit in that play style, but if he's not fitting, especially if this New York Knicks team looks a little bit more sluggish with him on the floor, there's definitely going to be some conversations around how Julius Randle can affect winning. On top of Julius Randle not being the best playoff performer, I mean, he averaged 18 points per game in 2021 and shot 30% from the field. And then in 2023, he averaged about 16 points on top of shooting maybe 25% from three, on top of shooting 37% from the field. I think this season coming up, the Knicks are definitely going to be a playoff team, and they're going to be looked at as a team that can push the Boston Celtics, which are the defending NBA champions. We're going to see if Julius Randle can really bring something to the table for the New York Knicks team, and I just don't think that he will be able to be considered one of the better players in the NBA or one of the top-tier power forwards in the NBA if he cannot really fit in with this team and fit in with the culture of what they're doing. And let's say he has another underwhelming playoff series. It's going to be very interesting to see how Julius Randle comes back and really buys into this new culture that the Knicks have set forward. The next player I kind of want to talk about is Ja Morant. Now, once again, I think Ja Morant's going to be fantastic this season. He's one of the better point guards in the league, and he's definitely top 10. My necessary concern with him is how good can he really lead this offense? Because when we look at some of the upper echelon point guards in the NBA, they are known to lead their teams to top 10 offenses. Teams like the Sacramento Kings with De'Aaron Fox, teams like the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young, teams like the Indiana Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton, and teams like the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic. And I don't necessarily think that Ja Morant is the problem with the Memphis Grizzlies being average to slightly below average offense. I just think it's the pieces that Ja Morant has around him. And I kind of want to put this in comparison to like Derrick Rose or Allen Iverson or Russell Westbrook, where these are guys who did what's necessary for them to be an average to above average type of offense, but the groundwork for this team winning games was based on their defense. Russell Westbrook had a great defensive team around him. Derrick Rose had a great defensive team around him. Allen Iverson had a great defensive team around him. And when you look at majority of team wins, it's based on the defense around them and not really the offense. Not saying that Russell Westbrook, AI, and Derrick Rose did not play well offensively and did not be the offensive engine that they needed to be, but I definitely think in a playoff scenario, this offense could be very easy to pick apart, especially if we look at a team like the Dallas Mavericks, who are so good at having players shoots below average in the restricted area and are well equipped to help off defenders or offensive players that cannot shoot, in hence like Marcus Smart or Vince Williams, who I do not think can have a consistent jump shot this season coming up. And there's also teams like the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves who can really defend the rim at a high level, and that's what Ja Morant really centers the base of his game off of, just being so offensively gifted and athletic to get to the rim at will. And I think there's a lot of teams in the NBA period who are well equipped to play against that. So yes, the Grizzlies were a second seed when Ja Morant was fully healthy and they had the team around him, but we have to think about the depth that the Memphis Grizzlies had in those seasons. And we also have to talk about how much more talented the Western Conference will be this season. But I don't necessarily think the Memphis Grizzlies will be a bad team. They will definitely not be a bad team. I still think they can be a top 6 seed in the Western Conference just because I think they're going to be a top 10 defense this year. On top of Zach Edey, I think he has a really big chance of being the Rookie of the Year. And Ja Morant is still just such a great player. I would just say my biggest concern around Ja Morant is the offense built around him. And I definitely think if this team wants to get into those championship contentions, that side of the floor needs to be worked on just a little more. The next player I want to talk about is Jayson Tatum. And Jayson Tatum has been a player that has been under the spotlight for a little while, ever since the playoffs started. And it's just he has not played to the level of Jayson Tatum that we have seen in recent years. And it's majority due to his jump shot. I think Jayson Tatum's jump shot has not been falling ever since the playoffs started. He did not hit a single three in the Olympics plus the showcase games. And he was underwhelming from beyond the arc in the playoffs. He shot 29% from above the break threes, which he shot 137%, or not 137%. He shot 137 above the break threes throughout the entire playoffs. And then outside of the above the break three, he only shot 11 shots for the rest of the perimeter, which he was 1 for 11 for. And this would concern me as a Jayson Tatum guy because you just cannot be considered one of the 5 best players in the NBA if that jump shot is not falling and majority of your game on offense is based on that jumper. We know Jayson Tatum is sometimes his shot diet is just not the best. And we also talk about how many threes he likes to get up in a single game. And I just don't think he can be as impactful if that jump shot is not falling. He definitely was impactful in the NBA Finals or throughout the entire playoffs when the jump shot was not falling. But to the level that we try to give Jayson Tatum, I mean, a lot of guys said he should have started in the Olympics. A lot of guys said he should have still won Finals MVP. But the truth of the matter is the jump shot is not falling. And I don't think it's going to be as important as other players in the NBA if their jump shot is not falling, because this Boston Celtics team is still head and shoulders the best team in the NBA. So I think guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, these guys from beyond the arc can make up for that. Peyton Pritchard is another great three-point shooter for the Boston Celtics, and the way they're able to run their 5-out offense with Jayson Tatum being the primary ball handler can also help out his case of not being able to hit his jumper. But it's extremely concerning with his shot diet and how he likes to take his shots in a half-court scenario. I've seen plenty of possessions where Jayson Tatum is doing a sidestep three on guys like Maxi Kleber and TJ McConnell. That's not the type of offense I would like to be run when Jayson Tatum has the ball on a clearly lesser defender compared to guarding Jayson Tatum. And my last player I kind of want to talk about is Nikola Jokic, who is undoubtedly the best player in the league. But I kind of want to talk about how his jump shot has kind of taken a step back. We saw that he couldn't make the threes consistently in the playoffs. He also has not shot the ball well in the Olympics as well. And when we talk about the Denver Nuggets and losing some floor spacing in KCP, who was a 40% three-point shooter, and you're going to be replacing him with Christian Brown, who can be a little streaky from three, but is not the best three-point shooter that you can have in this lineup, on top of already having Aaron Gordon and on top of Jamal Murray not hitting the outside jumper in the playoffs and in the Olympics as well. I definitely would think this was something that could be of concern. Now, I do think the Denver Nuggets are still going to be fine without KCP, but it kind of makes it a little bit easier to guard the Denver Nuggets, knowing that there are now 2 players in the starting lineup that you would consider under average three-point shooters. I just think with the lesser shooting with the Denver Nuggets roster, there could be a little crack in their armor. And I think that's something that playoff teams are going to end up exploiting. Anyway, if you guys like this type of content, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. If there are some superstars that you guys have some concerns with, make sure you leave them in the comments. Once again, if you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace.